I knew the press was going to show up. So it is 7 and I just started recording. So we might as well get started. I always forget, do I call the meeting to order first or do the roll call first? I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:01. And Laurie DiDonato is here. Gillian Budine.
Here.
Dan Keller.
Here.
Okay, so we completed the roll call. And the first item is the public comment policy. We're going to do that, discuss it before we actually have
Mm-hmm. Good idea.
If you'd like, I can kind of tell you, I said I'd do a little research into what we do at the Greenfield School Committee, so I kind of have that up. The policy is, it's scheduled for not to exceed 15 minutes except by permission of the chair. Speakers have 3 minutes each. Topics for discussion should be limited to those items within, in this case, the select board scope of authority. The chair of the meeting, after a warning, reserves the right to terminate speech which is not constitutionally protected because it constitutes true threats that are likely to provoke a violent reaction and cause a breach of the peace or incitement to imminent lawless conduct or contains obscenities.
Was this written for Trump or what?
it.
Preparing for all eventualities. Let's see. And then it just says that people can submit written comments as well. And then their sign up instructions, but in the case of Wendell, probably just be like, who wants to speak?
And is it at the beginning of the meeting?
Wherever it is on the agenda, but usually, yeah.
Well, I like that policy just as read. I mean, the ones that I've read are longer than 15 minutes, but I don't know. I think 15 minutes is probably not a bad amount, 3 minutes per person. And I still would like to see it at the beginning.
And I think too that, if for some reason we all of a sudden feel like 15 minutes isn't long enough, we can decide to change it. Or as it says, we can just extend it.
Yep.
Yeah, and normally if there are, my experience has been if there's more than 15 minutes worth of public comment, it's usually because there's a hot topic on the agenda and you're going to want to listen to people about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So Glenn, could you email that language to me and I'll put it in?
Sure, absolutely. Yep.
Did Josh just raise his hand?
Me too.
I'll send it to you as well. Okay, yeah. I'm just kind of, I was paraphrasing from the Greenfield School Committee policy, so I'll just send that to both of you.
Thank you.
Sounds good. So I don't think there's anyone here for the public comment, but I'll just put the word out. Anybody here for public comment? Hearing none. Shall we review the meeting and warrant schedule? Which looks like they're going to line up for the next few times.
That's right. Yep. They get back into the rhythm with each other. So next week would be both warrant and select board meeting. And then 2 weeks after that.
All right, good.
No, looks good to me.
Good.
All right. And then we can move on to the minutes. Has everybody been able to read the minutes from June 15th?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 15th, 2020.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. We all approved them. All right, we're moving right along. The tree tagging, I think we're waiting for Cliff, so we'll skip that. Assessors, we're waiting for Martha, so we'll skip that. Library items for auction. Did we need anybody else here for that?
No, they weren't planning to send a representative. It just is those items that I emailed you about. They're wanting your approval to put them up for auction sooner rather than waiting for the next town meeting. They want to get rid of them sooner.
Okay,
Uh,
but we approve that.
Yeah, that seems like something we can approve, I would approve of.
Do they have to go through any kind of process, or is it just we give them approval to sell or auction off and,
I think that's it.
okay.
We need, oh, Josh,
Can you email them to me too, please?
Sure.
Because that I think is worth putting in.
Yeah.
okay. It's a new person, oh, maybe that's Dom.
That's Cliff.
Oh, that's Cliff, okay. Okay, we still got some time for that, though. Should we look at this town hall rental application?
Can I ask, do you guys want to do a more formal vote? Might be good to have a more formal vote on the action.
No, stop, because you're just gonna eat all that grass.
gonna
I'm
mute
sorry,
you
Glenn,
there.
I couldn't hear you on that one.
Oh, could I have who made the motion and who seconded? I think we should probably have the auction thing as a
For the
formal.
library?
I'll make-
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we approve for the library to auction off or sell the items that they listed.
Second,
any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. All right, now, Cliff, I muted you, but hopefully you can unmute yourself when you're ready. We're gonna talk a few more things until your time comes at
Of course, yeah,
7:50.
take your time.
Oh,
Is it okay that
okay.
I'm here? I apologize.
Yeah,
I'm,
just,
we're at the library with my kids. My son was sprinkling grass in my baby's hair, so I was asking him to stop and realized I was not muted. I apologize.
no
welcome.
problem.
Mute is back on.
All right. All right, so I was trying to pull up the application, having a little trouble. I think it was just one person for the town hall. Wanting,
It was for a dance
The
night.
dance group, yep.
oh,
CO.
dance group, right,
Yeah.
okay.
And I pointed her first in the direction of Barbara, and they worked out an agreement about what their COVID protocols would be for the use of the space. And it's Friday mornings. The application and the check are in my office and ready to cash whenever, if you all approve.
Okay, so they've paid the fee?
Yep.
Okay. And are you able to see the kitchen? Is there any conflict with the kitchen rental?
I did look at the kitchen calendar, and there isn't a conflict on Friday mornings.
Oh, all right. Then I guess I don't see any reason not to approve this. Unless anyone else have any thoughts?
I agree.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so should we make a motion? I'll move that we approve this town hall rental application for CL Madeline.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. All right. Next up is the mowing of town properties.
Yeah, so essentially, when we tried to delay the mowing of the properties to try to conserve, it ended up taking him quite a bit longer to mow because of how much growth there was, and then it took a toll on his equipment. So
So the interesting thing that I'm trying to figure out is we did the same thing last year because I remember we actually didn't do it before Memorial Day and we got complaints about that. So seems to me there's something specific about this year that increase the growth. But I'm totally fine. And the reason we've done it, Glenn, for the past, I don't know how many years, was for the pollinators.
Oh,
Wasn't, saving money or anything, although
oh, yeah.
that ended up being a byproduct.
Has to do with
um,
saving fossil fuels, but okay.
And that, yes, that's
Yeah.
always good too.
Yeah,
But every time I saw how much the growth was, I kept wishing we had done it sooner. And I almost also wish, because we also, I think, cut back on the frequency of the mowing based on the pollinator recommendation, or the recommendations from the pollinator group. And I might think we could consider backtracking on that as well, because I know with the library having events every week and other things that might be going on, it's I think people might rather have the lawns mowed more regularly. And I know, I'm not sure we can do it this year, because I remember last year, Nancy was talking about, there's a contract and we budgeted a certain amount. So it would be hard to change, but definitely for planning for next year, I would think we could do it earlier and more often, but would love to hear what others think.
I agree with that. I think earlier could be better. There are a lot of other places where bees and other insects can pollinate than the lawns. So
Yep.
I'm in favor of what you said.
And I know, as a user who was using it when the grass was really long at the library, then we end up worrying more about ticks. It's this
Yeah.
catch-22. And Glenn, did he have any suggestion for what a good cycle or schedule would be?
he didn't, but my experience in the past, my experience with using lawn services is that they tend to keep an eye on it and have a sense of when to go, fit it in their schedule when the weather's working and all of that.
Can we look to have a discussion about amending the contract for this year, since it's really just started?
Yeah, we didn't do a contract. Since I've been here, we haven't started a new contract with him. So I don't know if he's just doing it on a one-off basis at this point, or
Maybe it's not a contract, but maybe it was just budgeted a certain way.
Right.
Yeah, it might be worth checking with him and just seeing, what his understanding is of how often, and then seeing how much extra it might cost if we wanted to make changes, if it was possible to make changes, and then what the extra cost would be. And give him a heads up, we'll change it next year for sure.
Well, and it sounds like he's hesitant to continue with what we've been doing.
It's funny. I just found a tick on my daughter's neck. The grass in front of the library, just crawling up her neck. So yeah.
Case in point.
Right.
I don't know. Did you get an idea that he thinks every time he mows it's too much, or just that first time when it's crazy?
It seemed like it was, just that first time, but they ended up having to mow on 2 shifts because it was so much. So it probably does really depend on the year and just the conditions for growth and all that.
Right. Yeah, so does that seem reasonable to everybody, that we can check in and see if they can increase frequency this year, how much it would cost, and then for sure work with them to change it for next year?
And maybe let us know what his proposed schedule would be, so we can see how it fits in the budget. Proposed schedule, yeah. And cost.
Right.
Great. Yep, I can do that when I get back.
Okay.
All right. And now it's 7:15, so let's talk about trees with Cliff. who's leading this discussion?
Okay. Well, hello, everyone.
Hey, Cliff.
Hi. My hair's looking extra special.
I
Um,
think I actually asked to put it on the agenda.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Just because I had gotten a question from a resident about townsperson about trees being marked and who to contact. And I said that it wasn't the town that was doing the marking, and I was able to get the phone number for them to contact. But I didn't know if you know, Cliff, if there's going to be a hearing about the trees coming down, or if they just come and take the trees down. I know some of them are on the town common as well.
okay. So let's see where to begin. So in terms of town discussion, I think the larger, more prominent older trees, I have a desire to have a town meeting about. The trees that are impinging upon like electrical lines. I wouldn't say it's out of our hands, but basically if the electrical company says these are a hazard to the lines and we don't, like I say, we can't take them down, or that basically the town is liable for paying for the repairs on those wires if those trees, or when those trees fall. By training and experience, I am a preservationist over conservation and everything else. And so my aim, and I guess my direction, is usually about how to preserve the ecosystem, or the trees, as much as we can. So I'm not really out there cutting as much, anything that looks a little bit precarious. And so I'm only having the trees that are really like a dire situation to be removed, where they're dead and going to fall. And I'm seeing a lot more die off this year and last year, and like what looks like there'll be even more the following year. And so there is a recommendation for the tree warden to have a hearing for certain types of trees. And I'm happy to do that if that's what the town wants, but that would involve every month probably having 3 or 4 trees on the agenda to look at. Like it would be extensive. Because there's just so many trees that are not doing well, if not more. And next year it'd be double that. So if people want to take the time to review them with me, that's totally fine. If there's like a committee of people in town who feel called to make sure that they're that the right trees are being removed, that's totally acceptable. I mean, I'm happy to help manage that, I suppose. But like I was saying, that like it feels very late. Like I'm not really even sure what a meeting will look like. There was very little to no training in terms of how to go about doing all this in terms of meetings and having hearings about trees and stuff. And so I wasn't sure if it was appropriate for me to post on the listserv, because only certain people are participating in that discussion forum. If it's so I'm just not really sure the best way to go about it. And I'm happy to have hearings for trees. There's the trees I'm personally at question about removing, I haven't removed, basically. So there's a couple trees that are on town property adjacent to the community garden that is also I think it's on the property of the house that we sold to, I think, Anna. And it's a big double trunked tree that is, it's decaying, and so it's going to fall at some point. And she calls me every 2 or 3 months saying, "Hey, can we get this tree removed?" And it's just such a beautiful tree, and half the consultations I get are like, tree needs to get removed. Half of them like, it's good for a long time. And so, that would be a tree that I'd want to have a discussion with the town about what makes sense, because, I think legally it's still on town property because the town owns that land and she owns the house, I believe. I'm not sure how that works. I just remember when it was for sale, that was kind of the logistics. Yes, Gillian.
So if I'm actually, so I think two issues are getting kind of confused because
Yes.
one is the ones that the utility, I'm assuming it's National Grid, is tagging to be removed. And I was wondering if you knew if they were going to be having a hearing or if they just have the right to come in and just remove.
They check in with me, so they tag trees and then they send me a map usually, or kind of tell me location of certain trees or the roads they're working on, and get like the go ahead for me. And I usually do drive by and take a look and make sure that they're, you know, really at risk of creating, you know, a hazard to pedestrians and or you know, vehicles or the infrastructure of the power lines. So
I think my understanding is, again, don't know though for sure, National Grid probably does have the ability to come and take trees. And I think the tree warden can decide about trees if they're dead or diseased or dangerous. I think there's these 3Ds or 4Ds. I can't remember. But if any of those things aren't the case, then I believe it's the planning board that might handle a tree hearing. Does anyone else remember that?
I don't know.
where would that information be? Because I would love to know kind of more of the logistics. I mean, this is year, what, 3 or 4 for me, and I still don't know where to obtain most of the information.
I don't know where, I mean, other than Googling tree hearings, in the planning board, I don't know. I bet it's not on our website. Unless it's on the planning board site, I can look. But asking the planning board member would be probably the best thing.
Okay.
I can take a quick look and see if I can
But
find
I
anything
think,
in there.
Lori, what you said, that the tree warden has the right to take down any dangerous trees or dead trees is important, really important for Cliff to know that.
Yeah.
He
Well,
should-
that I do know. It's just that, like, even if that were the case, there's some trees that, you know, maybe the town would want to try to figure out how to preserve or protect, even if they're going to fall, you know, finding ways to, I don't know, to maybe cut down certain branches so that the tree can stand for another 15 or 20 years.
But
Well, I've been Sorry, go ahead.
Cliff,
Yeah.
Cliff, what I'm saying is that you have discretion and you should use it. You should just go ahead and do what you think is important to do because you are the tree warden. And if you think something is dangerous, you have the perfect right to take it down without a hearing.
That's what I've been doing, but I'm saying for the trees that I'm at question myself, I
Okay.
would love the input of the town. But I mean, that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years. Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
I do think too that, as you mentioned, that we should err on the side of caution because if the town is liable and we leave a tree up that is dangerous, it's something that has to be considered. So if we don't have a plan in place for how to make a tree so that it's safe, even if it's dying, then it should come down. That's how I feel personally.
That's what I've been
Mhm.
doing. I think that there's just a few that like I said, like the one at Anna's house has been the biggest kind of thorn in my side because it's just a monumental tree and it would take almost, because it's not risking the power lines to the extreme where they were like, oh, we need to take this down. It would come out of the tree's budget, the tree warden budget, and it'd be probably about half my budget for the year. So that's, you know, why it's a bigger discussion or decision because, you know, I just got my budget, you know, doubled or tripled this year and it's still, you know, 4 or 5 days of tree work for the entire year is what that allocates. So it's not huge. And it's, you know, I'm playing with the numbers because I don't want to overshoot and then, you know, be taking money from other places. The town needs it. But at the same time, I think that the budget for the amount of trees we have, like the amount of roads and trees we have compared to other towns, I'm working with about a fifth of the budget, if not less.
Well, I think that's why we should also allow the utilities to take down as many dangerous trees as
That's all. I take full advantage of that. Absolutely. And I haven't stopped them from, I think I've stopped them from taking one tree down. And what I was going to say is, like, when I was talking about preservation or conservation, I've been asking them to take trees higher up instead of cutting them at the stump, which is maybe a little, you know, not as sightly, but on conservation land. So in the whetstone conservation land because I still haven't gotten a hold of any of the foresters. I've been asking them to cut the trees as high as they can to provide habitat because those trees are supposed to be utilized for conservation for habitat. So, that's a discussion. I wasn't sure with whom to speak to about that. I know the highway boss, I'm not sure if he's on the call tonight, was not totally pleased with that because he's like, it's creating more work for us down the line, but it's not putting the power lines at risk. And the trees I'm mostly doing that with are ones facing away from the road. So when they fall, they won't go into the road and create a mess for us. But yeah, no, Gillian, I totally agree with you that any trees that the power line can take, and they've been doing a really great job this year of being on top of it. I've been really grateful for them. It's actually been hard for me to keep up sometimes because when they come, they're okay, we're on 3 different roads today because they'll have 2 or 3 crews working. And so I've been trying to keep up with them when they come because when they come strong. But
Martha, did you want to weigh in on something?
I was just going to ask Cliff if he's a member of the Massachusetts Tree Warden and Foresters Association.
I am not.
Because there is a website or you can get there from mass.gov.
Yes.
And it might help with some of the questions that you have and how to do
Absolutely.
things. So it might be a good place to start.
Yes, you are absolutely right. And I have a desire and inclination to do so. I think there's like for trainings and stuff, and I actually proposed, and I think it was passed, for me to have a small budget for taking some courses and being able to participate in more of the forester work or the tree warden work in organizations. So I will be kind of joining those circles and seeing and learning more. And I'm also contemplating doing some forestry training so that I can help the town do a forest management plan. Because it feels like something that would be good to do where money isn't really the objective and it's more about taking care of our forests.
Right.
Thank you, Cliff.
Yes, sir.
So, so Cliff, if you truly want some feedback on that particular tree or any other trees, I guess, unless you want public feedback, you could just bring it to this committee, this board, with all the details, how much it's going to cost, how much of your budget is there, how much of a risk the tree is. And we could bring the FinCom in as well, possibly, and discuss it if you do want that help in that situation.
That sounds good. Yeah, I think that, and that feels like enough of a hearing, if you will, like where I would be not liable or getting the town too upset.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Gillian, I don't know if you got your questions answered based on, you're muted.
Sorry. If residents are contacting us about the trees being marked, should we just continue to use this one contact number that we have?
It's the best one to get hold of me. I don't get cell reception at home.
Okay,
But-
should we just send them to National Grid though? The people who are
Oh,
marking.
I see. Yeah, I mean, because they're the only ones tagging trees. Like the town's tagged, I think, 3 trees for me this year. But besides that, it's just National Grid. And I mean, sometimes I see random tags. I have no idea who's putting them there. It's not National Grid. So I'm not really.
Use that. I think it's Zach.
Currently is Zach Hickey, yeah.
Okay.
But there was another person that recently contacted me, so I wasn't sure if that was their superior or a new person. They've gone through 2 or 3 different people this year already.
Okay.
Because it's just been.
If you get new information about who to contact, if there's a question about the trees, will you just forward that to Glenn or to us so that?
Absolutely, but yeah, Zach Hickey's been the person in charge since I think March, and he's been really great. He's been responsible and on top of things and pragmatic about his job. I've been really grateful for the work they've been doing.
Right. Thanks.
Sorry, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say too, I think in terms of our internet lines, this will be helpful as well in terms of not having as many outages, hopefully, if we have some of these trees cleared up.
Yeah, I would agree. There's no guarantees with just the resilience of the trees as of late. but definitely doing our best to improve the situation. That being said, I want to make sure that people aren't feeling like too many trees are being taken down too. Like, and I feel like every town I go through, there's a exorbitant amount of trees that are being removed from roadsides, and it's kind of the way of the world right now, I suppose. And so if people are getting feedback where that any of you are feeling like the tree removal is like a little bit overzealous, I'm happy to hear comments and figure out other ways we can go about managing our roads. I'm not sure what that would be, but I'm always open to learning and to input, because I really do want to do the best I can for their town. So yeah.
Okay, I haven't heard anything like that, and I don't notice anything being too much, so seems like it's a good job.
Cool, fair enough. All right, well, I'm not Ray Odegaard. That's weird. Sorry about that. It's my wife. Cool. If anyone has any other questions or whatever, we can ask now or just email me at some future point. And if people have questions, you can always redirect them to me also if they're not wanting to get a hold of National Grid or just want to talk to me.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Anything more for Cliff right now?
No, thank you, Cliff.
Of course. Oh,
right.
one last quick thing is the wood bank. I still don't feel 100% great about the location. Matt Edwards took a look and he felt like it was a little bit tight of a spot, but also I don't energetically feel inspired by that space. I'm not sure if that really quantifies or counts for anything good, but I feel like my momentum has really dropped since kind of being relocated from the prior location. So Dan, I'm not sure if you're open to working with me a little bit more to see if we can find another viable option.
Yeah, I'm totally open to that. I'll look, Cliff. I've got a whole list of 10 properties, and I'll look and get in touch with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Great.
Cool. All right. Well, have a wonderful night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Cliff. You too. Okay, and that's perfect timing to talk about the assessors with Martha.
Hi, Martha.
Hi.
Welcome, Martha. So yeah, we got an email from Harold about changing staff with is the name of that position working assessor? I don't know what you call it, Kelly, whatever her title was. But then Martha and I ran into each other and started talking about this. So it seemed like it'd be good chance to bring Martha in and have a discussion about the ongoing need for assessors.
Yeah, I did speak to Harold. Actually, I emailed Harold after he sent us the email about Kelly leaving. And he said he was working on hiring somebody to replace her. That was last week. I haven't heard any updates since then. But Kelly's last day is tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Boy.
Not long notice here. So I tried to wrap everything I could up with her before tomorrow. And I think we've got everything up to date except for one letter that we need to send out to somebody. I just need their mailing address. And I spoke to Penny just a little bit ago because I was hoping you guys were going to meet in person because getting on these Zoom meetings really is a hassle for me.
Okay. Yeah.
Soon, I
I
think.
went over there, but I'm glad I did because I ran into Penny and we got a few things straightened out. So I'm looking forward to working closely with Penny and her group on this sort of stuff. I think that we're at a good place right now, but after tomorrow, it's basically just going to be me. We desperately need somebody. So my questions are, if we can't get somebody from town, can we get volunteers from people that don't live in town? I'm looking for anybody at this point.
Probably not to be an actual assessor. I think, elected position, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
As to
right.
be as town citizen. But I'm volunteering if you want me to
Okay.
jump on.
We need at least one more person, if not two. I mean, it's hard to do stuff with just a two-person board, but you know, 3 people, that's a full board. But we're gonna need somebody to have gone through the DLS training, at least section 4 of that training, so that when time comes, we'll be able to set the tax rate. And it will take a little while to get through that. The
And-
rest of it is all stuff that Kelly's been able to walk me through. I don't know how much experience this new person is gonna have, other than they have some municipal experience, but I'm not sure exactly in what. Because Harold hasn't shared that with me, so I'm not sure. I know that the assessment, the reassessment, reevaluation thing, has just about been completed, and they're doing the final data entry and stuff like that. So that part's doing good. So we've got everything done, or just about done with everything that we've needed to do up to this point. So we haven't fallen behind. But we're gonna be.
Martha, one question. You say the new, if I were to join, excuse me, if I were to join forces with you, the course that I would need to take to get qualified is how much work?
It's available through Gateway. It
Okay.
is I think it's an 8 or a 9 section training course. And you have to take section 4 to be able to work on setting the tax rate.
Yeah.
Or DLS is going to be sending us some nasty grams saying we won't be able to do that.
And how long does that take to get through section 4?
It will be, I think it took me like an hour and a half.
Oh,
2
okay.
hours. It didn't take very long.
Yeah.
I actually went through sections 1 through 4 rather quickly,
All right.
but then you start getting into the meat of the whole thing in sections 5, 6, and 7 was a bear.
Okay.
But you got to do 4, and it helps to get a little
Okay.
bit of background with the sessions 1 through 3.
Okay. Well, if
And-
the board wants to appoint me, I'm willing to do it.
Can we vote on that?
I'll make a motion to appoint Dan as an assessor. Do I
I'll
need
second.
other than that?
All in favor? Can we do this right now? Can we, and through the next year till the next election? Yes, because we've already had an election, right?
Yes.
So this will be till the next election.
Yep.
Yes, any other discussion on that? I've seconded it.
Dan, how fast do you think you can do the trainings?
Oh, I can do that right away.
Okay.
So you'll need to be set up through Gateway to do it.
Yeah, but you'll have to give me the link or whatever, but yes,
I forget who gave it to me, but I'll get that.
we'll figure it out. Yeah,
Thank you, Dan.
sure. I've been meaning to call you on this, Martha, and talk to you in advance, but I just haven't gotten to it.
Mhm.
Happy to do it.
Awesome.
Martha, the other thing too, unless we already have it written up, I'm putting together the town newsletter right now. And if I put a blurb in there about assessors needed, sign up today. Maybe we'll give you chocolate. I don't know.
Make fudge. I don't do chocolate.
Okay.
Well, I do chocolate fudge, but it's all fudge.
Is there a blurb ready to go? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know. I've been so busy trying to wrap everything up with Kelly. When do you need it by?
I'm supposed to have it done very soon. What was my deadline again, Glenn? I know the deadline was to get stuff into me by today.
I'll pull it up.
How much
Oh,
info?
I don't think maybe it's in the notes when we wanted to get it out, but I was going to be able to find the deadline to have things to you, but
Okay, so I mean, within the next couple days.
How much detail do you need? I mean, I've put something together just for vacancy emails.
Yeah, I thought we had one.
Why don't I
We had
just
put
use
out in the last newsletter.
Why don't I just use that? if you can find it, Lori, though, can you resend it to me?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And the stipend's been updated as of the last town meeting, so that,
Make sure we have that number correct.
yeah.
And
How do
we'll-
I find that? Is it in the budget? Probably. Because that I don't think I've necessarily put in my vacancy email, but I'll see what I can find.
yeah.
Or Carolyn would know.
Right.
If you need to reach me about something quickly, the best email to reach me at is martha.sen@gmail.com. I do have a separate assessors one, but I only check that every couple of days, or at least once a week.
Okay. I'll try to pass it by you before I finalize it.
Okay. One other thing I noticed on the agenda that you had some, was it surplus equipment, library items for auction? Was that
Mhm.
the surplus stuff? Did I miss that already?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
voted to do that, yeah.
Okay, because I know that there's some surplus stuff in the assessor's office. There's a file cabinet, AC and some other stuff. I don't know what, we don't need it. I don't know if there's someone else that might need it, or if you would want to get rid of it, or what I should do with it. Otherwise, it's just taking up space.
Probably
Glenn
good,
might want the AC.
probably good to get rid of it. Maybe the library would take it for the auction or off to the rats. Free store.
Mhm.
Let's just, yeah, following whatever protocols for release of town property, but what are the, I don't know if it, yeah, and I think Carolyn knows those protocols, like what, what value it has to be before it has to get kind of voted on and declared as surplus and put into an auction and all that, so.
Well, I can put together a list of those items. It's not many,
Great, send it to me and.
and then you might be able to work it from there. I
Yeah,
have no
yeah.
idea what the value of this stuff would be.
And
Great.
maybe it's something too where we should send out an email saying any other offices have surplus and just do it all at once.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
We got off topic a little bit. but-
Back to the assessors. Yeah, do we need to talk about RRG and, if they can't sort of fulfill what they are expected to fulfill with our contract, if we should be doing something or?
I would say give them a minute.
Yeah, okay.
Because we still have access to their resources through the hotline, and I mean, I called them when I have questions, and I plan on continuing that. So I think that for right now, like this week and next week, maybe we give them.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, is there anybody there other than this hotline that can do some of the work Kelly was doing? Somebody who's already there, or are we just sort of, there's nobody?
I'm not sure. I have not heard back from Harold.
Okay,
We can see where it is and we bring Harold in for a meeting if needed next time. The situation he described in his email was essentially like he offers competitive wages, but people are still being lured away by municipalities who are looking for assessors and they're, the rates are going up. It's kind of hard to keep up with the market, I guess. So.
It's also hard to keep good people these days. And if, if they get a better deal,
Yeah.
it's hard to compete. But that's through everything. So
right. Okay. Anything else about the assessors we should discuss?
Apart from losing Kelly, has it generally the relationship with RRG been working well for you, Martha?
yes, it has.
Okay.
Yep. They've been doing the assessments for reassessing the town. They've answered the questions that I've had. There's a few things that are coming in like new forestry plans. I know what to do with those. So right now we're good. I just want to stay that way.
Yeah. Good.
So I appreciate your support, Dan,
Sure.
and I will get you that information. And I'll find out who it is that got me access to it, because I think it's the clerk, not the clerk. I don't know. I'll have to check back on my notes
Okay, thanks.
for access into Gateway.
Dan, I sent you the link to it on June 1st. Do you want me to send it again?
Oh, please do send it again. That was the late to Gateway?
It's a link to the trainings, and on that page, there's a link to Gateway.
Okay, please, yeah, do send it again. That'd be great.
And Dan, if you want to get together when you start that, because some of finding your way around can be a little difficult, because
Yep,
I even have to do it every time I go on there.
sure.
So I'd be happy to help you.
Yep, I'll probably get you on the phone or something like that when we do that.
Sounds good.
Okay, great.
Okay, so if you have any other questions or concerns, you know where to reach me.
Yep,
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Martha.
Martha.
Okay,
Martha.
take care. Bye.
Bye. All right, next thing is supplies and services contracting, online class.
Yep, that's me. So one of the things we kind of got a hint about from the audit is that there may be a recommendation in there for the coordinator, myself, to get more training in procurement. And it's part of my job description to be the procurement officer, I guess, and I don't have that experience. So Andrea at the FRCOG has been encouraging about accessing the trainings through the OIG's office, and this one is coming up. It's not the first one in the series. It's kind of like the second, but you are allowed to take them out of sequence, and it seemed like it might be helpful, and the timing is good in terms of it's going to be happening during what I think will be a slower time of year, and online. It's pricey though.
$595.
Yeah.
Though I think us getting into trouble by not doing things correctly just because you don't know could be probably costly. So I support the training that you need. And I don't know that there's any way to get it less expensively.
And you said this was the second one of how many total do you think you would need to do?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say, but I mean, there's a whole sequence that you can take and get like a certificate. I'm guessing that this might be like this class and the kind of the 101 class might be the ones to focus on.
Actually,
Another option would be to wait for the calendar to open up, but when I was looking, all of the classes were taken through the end of the fiscal year, and I don't know when the next ones are coming up. So,
And
so
do we,
the link that you sent there are 3 classes. What does MCPPO stand for? Municipal contracting, purchasing.
Oh, can you pop that link into the chat, Killian?
Yep. Whoops.
You had it open and then I got researching something else.
That $595 may pay for all 3 of the classes.
Oh,
That would be something to find out. It's a little unclear. It says this class, maybe not. This class is one of the 3 classes required to earn the MCPPO designation.
this is the Massachusetts Certified Public Purchasing Official designation.
Oh, boy.
Fun times.
And this might be something that Nancy did a long time ago, and then,
I think Nancy did research and found out what she needed to do to be a purchasing agent. I don't think she ever took a class on it, especially not one that was paid for.
Well, I mean, the basic guidelines, I think I am getting, and I think that what happened with the audit was essentially like they did a search for anything that would have required a bid process or a request for quotes process. And they basically said, provide the documentation for all of these ones that happen in this time period. And then I was just scrambling, like calling different people and asking people to send me stuff, This next year I could prepare that stuff and kind of have it in a binder ready for them.
Yeah, I really think that's the way to do it, Glenn. I mean, I think actually we did follow all the procedures.
Yeah,
Basically, anything over $10,000 needs a formal process, and it needs 3 quotes or attempted quotes. And I think we did that in every single instance of purchasing. So it may be hard to document, but I think we did follow the law. And Nancy was the one that kept us in line with the law on all those things. But it is fairly simple.
yeah,
And Phil has a lot of experience with it too. And if he's going to be sort of more of a, town employee in the future, he might be a good resource.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm open either way, depending on what everybody else feels.
There is like a 30-minute information session, MCPPO designation renewal update. It might be worth attending that to see, do you actually need this designation, or is there another way to get the training that isn't as expensive? Do you know what I mean? Like, because
yeah,
the designation does look like it gives you a pretty hefty, it's pretty in depth.
yeah. I doubt that we would need the whole designation.
Right. So I wonder if there's another way because I do think it's important to have the training or to have the knowledge of what to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think maybe the knowledge can be gained independently, but I would say let's find out how important it is to have that designation.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know the time commitment too, Glenn? Does that, just in terms of
Yeah.
if that would be more than doing your own research or,
I mean, this class is a 9-week asynchronous class, but it doesn't say self-paced 5-week class. But it doesn't really say how many hours or they expect it or anything.
Yeah, so maybe that's another thing we can find out and see how that would fit with everything else.
Okay, great. We can keep exploring, and we can actually even wait, for the audit report, and see where we are, and if it looks like there are gaps that it may not be difficult to establish a new system to fill in those gaps, because I think it actually probably isn't enough just to do the things correctly. We actually do need to be able to have all the documentation that it was done as well.
Right. Well, that's the kind of thing where now that we know that, you can keep a file going as we go forward.
Yeah.
And Glenn, I wouldn't worry too much about the auditors because it wasn't long ago that the auditors discovered that our treasurer had been stealing huge amounts of money from the town. And thank the Lord they found that.
Yeah.
We were able to recover a lot of that money.
Wow.
That's what they're really looking for.
Okay, they're
don't
not
think
looking
you've got
for, you
anything
didn't
to
cross
worry
the
about.
T or dot this I. I'm not gonna freak out about that.
No,
Okay, all right. Thank you, reassuring. I'll always think of that next time I'm worried about procurement.
I'll tell you the whole story sometime.
Okay,
All right, any other thoughts on that? Or shall we move on?
I think I just would, after looking at it all, I think just encourage to see if there's another way to sort of learn some of the information, but not have to go through that in-depth process of
Mhm.
that designation.
yeah,
All right, so the next is the Audubon campership, which did we only get one essay? I think that's all I saw.
yeah.
Oh, too bad.
Can we give them 2 weeks of camp?
Um,
Yeah.
find out if they're interested and find out if Audubon wants to, but I don't think that was
I
an
know.
offer.
It was 1 week. Well, I don't know if we need to discuss or not, but I think with that one application, I would make a motion that we approve that camper to receive the Audubon scholarship and be able to go to camp and for them to get it so they can get it set up right away.
I'll second that.
Yeah, any other discussion? It was a very nice essay, I thought.
Yeah. The only discussion is, Glenn, when you return from vacation, if we could set up a meeting with Audubon at some point, even if it might be too busy for them over the summer, but with camps and stuff, but in the fall to have a conversation about this whole process of the camperships, and maybe we can get a little bit more, and also the agreements with the schools, because that's gotten confused.
It's
I
a
don't
good
know what the
idea.
original offer was.
Good idea.
I let him know you were interested in that, and he's very open and willing to come, so.
Okay.
And actually, Glenn, could you please send me out the copy of the one essay, because somehow I seem to have lost track of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Very poetic.
So we could just quickly vote all in favor. Aye.
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 And are you, so how quickly does this have to happen? Glenn, are you able to notify them?
Yeah, I'm gonna just notify them as soon as we're done with this meeting and
Okay,
put them in touch with each other and let them take it from there.
great, thank you.
Can you send me a copy of the essay also, please? And the name?
Do you mind it? I wonder if we might, I mean, I know it's public record, so certainly I can give it to you, Josh, but I just wonder if as a courtesy, we might ask the person who applied first before we shared it with the newspaper.
It's a,
That's fine.
just because it's a juvenile.
That's reasonable.
Okay,
Okay. All right, so next is the select board rules of procedure. Starting on that discussion. Did you want to say anything to start, Dan, or should we just?
No, I think I said what I thought about how we should address it tonight, which is just a quick rundown of what people thought about this draft. Anything that stood out as good or bad. A general idea about how we want to proceed. Maybe we want to simplify this somehow and start out with a bare bone structure and add to it. But I do think it's important to put something on the record pretty soon, just as a general description of what the rules are. And maybe in the format of these 6 sections, or how many sections? There are 10 sections. So maybe we want to leave out some of them, but maybe we want all 10, and maybe they should be simplified a little. But I thought these were the major categories in the other towns of the major categories of rules. So the most important ones. But I thought if we just went around tonight briefly and gave some thoughts, I could keep working on it and refining it, and we can keep talking about it.
Okay, that sounds good.
Mhm.
So I think, I mean, I didn't look at it with an eye to, overall stuff. I was looking a little more for details. So, but I think, just from what I can remember reading through it, I think it seemed fine in terms of the categories that were in there. But so some of the more detailed things, I think that I noticed, the regular meetings, I think currently we have the schedule the first, third, and fifth Wednesday. So we could probably put that in there unless we think it's gonna, because we can change it at any time, right?
Yeah, and does that work? The first, third, and fifth Wednesday, the first, third, and fifth Wednesday, except when there isn't a fifth Wednesday?
Well, if there's no fifth Wednesday, then there's no meeting.
Okay.
So I think we can put
Well,
that in.
I haven't looked at the calendar to see how that works and plays out, but does that play out fine over the year? First and third?
If that's what we choose, we're always gonna do it on the first and third, and then whenever our fifth comes up, then that should be fine.
Okay,
The thing that is messed up is the signing of the warrant,
right.
but that doesn't have to be in here, I don't think.
No, okay. Well, that's simpler, and that's fine. I'll change that.
And I think too that that fifth, it seems like sometimes we can have a discussion whether that fifth, that is it, do we have enough on the agenda to have that meeting on the fifth
Mhm.
Wednesday or not?
Right.
But I don't even know that if we need to address that in this or not.
I imagine not. I mean, I think we can change meetings if we need to, right? We've done that for holidays before, I think.
Well, that's exactly why it might be good to post it at the beginning of the previous month. I mean, just so the public has as much advance warning as they can get. And I don't think there's an issue with posting it a month in advance. I think we now have didn't we just get a schedule for the warrant that went all the way to the end of the year from the accountant? And why
Yeah,
couldn't
we can make a schedule. Yeah, I mean, different from a formal posting, but
Yeah. And I think, yeah, so, right, so maybe that wouldn't have to be a formal posting, but it could be a schedule that would be sent out however
yeah,
many months in advance.
and everything is all those meetings are already on the website calendar.
Sure.
And it might be too that if we do the year in advance, then we can see where the issues are in terms of holidays or other, we can make plans ahead of time for whether we're going to have a meeting then or move it.
Yep.
You want fiscal year or calendar year or school year?
I think fiscal year feels like it makes sense because that's when we also do the warrant schedule, the new warrant schedule. And like town meeting, I don't know, everything sort of falls on that fiscal year. I don't know, what do other people think?
Sure. That sounds fine.
Okay.
One other thing I saw was the proceedings be recorded online or on computer, which could be a problem when we are not remote. So that might be something where I was thinking when we go back in person, we should try to record them. Just, I don't know all the equipment that Doug is getting and if that's going to solve this problem. But just recording it on a phone, having an audio recording would be a minimal thing that we could do.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay.
I think the equipment will help. He's got an owl in there, which is some kind of a hybrid camera thing that can turn and know
Yeah.
who's talking and stuff like that. So
Oh
it
my
probably can
God.
record pretty easily, but
And it records.
well, it probably is like you probably would have it connected to my laptop in the office and then have the meeting on Zoom and
Right, okay.
be recording on Zoom. Something
Yes.
like that. Who knows?
All right. Were
Under
you
the
gonna say,
Well, just under section 3, agenda for regular meeting,
Yeah.
select board statements. What is that?
Good question. I think probably that's more or less in response to the public statements, which have just come before. It's a response from the select board to the public comments.
Okay.
Because all the other select board input would come under new business or old business.
Okay. And I think it's good to clarify if our public statement like in some meetings people come and make a public statement but there is no response. They just make a statement. And then if it's an item on the agenda, then it's discussed when that agenda item comes up. If it's an item not on the agenda, I don't know if we choose to decide to put it on the agenda for the next meeting or something, or we respond with a statement. I think we just have to be careful about the back and forth during that public statement time, because it could get really lengthy and sort of take over the meeting. And then how long is that public statement? Because it gets to be a back and forth.
Yeah. Well, I think, Glenn is going to send us the stuff from the Greenfield School Board, but in the draft, we have public statements limited to 30 minutes. They had it limited to 15. So let's go to 15, maybe 15 minutes instead of 30, and each one 3 minutes long.
Yep.
Does that make more sense?
yep,
And there's there was a lot of towns have this procedure where if a subject comes up in the meeting, and let's say it's the select board rules, a lot of towns have a procedure where it gets discussed and sometimes it's open to public comment, but the board can't vote on it until the next meeting. In other words, everything gets kicked down the road to the next meeting. Whenever anything's brought up, they can't vote on it. They have to wait till the next meeting. Well, I didn't put that in there because I think it really hamstrings the
yes,
board. But I also think that there's some wisdom behind it. So, you can sort of do that on the important things where you think there might be a lot of public discussion, or a lot of people will think about it and come back. But there shouldn't be the restriction on the board to do that in every case. So that's why I left all of that stuff out.
Some groups will, for example, for the work you're doing right now on the select board rules of procedure, it couldn't pass just in one meeting. It would require first reading and a second reading.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine for the select board rules because we're discussing it now, and
they're going to last a long time,
Yeah, and we won't vote on it tonight, but now the public will have been warned that we're talking about it. And if anybody wants to comment, they can come and comment.
okay. Oh, you're muted, Gillian.
Sorry. For me, when I started, having a document like this would have been so helpful.
Right, right.
For any of us, I guess, really, right? I think it is very, very helpful.
Yeah, good in addition to the select board orientation packet.
That we all read, so careful.
Is there one?
FERCog, I think, sent something, or they
I
offered.
Yeah, I attended a meeting through FERCog. But what was hard was they shared all the documents and like resources,
Mhm.
but like on a Google Doc or something that now doesn't exist. So I can't go back and reference it.
I might
Yeah,
have them in hard copy.
yeah, probably the link broke or something, but they would share that with you again, I'm sure, if you asked for it.
I did find some of it on their website, but
Yeah.
Okay, well, the other major section in here, is section 5, meeting minutes. And that's an important one. Any thoughts about that one in particular from anybody?
Well, one thing I wanted to clarify, is where you mentioned select board clerk, and I think this came up with Carolyn.
Yeah.
Um,
I do have a new thought about that, which is she suggested 2 positions, both of which contain the word clerk. And I think that's a problem right there. So I was thinking, and I think I said in an email at some point that the select board clerk, an elected position of a select board member to be the clerk of the select board, goes way back in Commonwealth history. And the select board clerk was mainly responsible for being in charge of documents, the originals of signed documents. And sort of we've gone past that at this point, but especially of executive session minutes, which are not available to the public usually. And there's sort of treasured things, and the select board clerk was responsible for safeguarding them. So there is a role, I think, for the select board clerk, although it's not like it was 100 years ago. But then there's the role of the person who takes the minutes. And I think it was actually Glenn who used the caption select board minutes reporter,
Oh,
which
I don't remember that, but I have heard recording secretary.
recording secretary, which I would like to suggest something like that, or scribe, if you want to make it a little more down home. But I would say my recommendation would be to have a select board clerk who's a member of the select board, who's in charge with maintaining documents, and the reporter person, select board, however you said that.
I guess I feel that since we have the coordinator who's maintaining the documents, it might not be a necessary. I wouldn't imagine, I mean, do we need 2 separate? Would we want to transfer that role from the coordinator to the new clerk, or do we want it to be redundant? I guess I would say maybe we don't need one of the board members in charge of documents. It seems like it could end up being quite a big task, and we already have. We're
Right.
paying the coordinator to do that.
Well, that brings up another question. I'm fine with doing that if that's what the board like to do. That's okay with me. But it does bring up another important point, I think, which is that Glenn has been taking the minutes. And I think he's been doing a wonderful job, but it was not part of his original job description. And there is a budget for the minute taker. And I think that maybe that budget should be available to him for the time that he spends on working on the minutes.
I would
I'm
support
fine with that.
I think, right, not at the meeting, because the meeting is part of the coordinator job, but in the time preparing the minutes afterwards, yes.
I think there's a lot of time involved afterwards.
Right. And I don't know, also if this is something that Glenn wants to continue, or if we should still need to look for somebody.
Good question. I think we should look, but how do you feel about it, Glenn?
Yeah, well, frankly, in this last period, I have had other work in addition to my work here in Wendell, so I haven't been wanting to put in additional hours. So I've been folding the work into my existing hours with Wendell. And so I could see the advantage of it in a way, in that if I did add those hours, then it would free up capacity for other things, which I've been saying I want more of. And I think for the next period, I don't remember when my next kind of engagement is, that over the summer at least, that would probably work. But I have kind of structured my life and my expectations around the 28 hours. So,
Right.
and then the other piece is for the board to think about is that, you know, the different, like, I guess it would be, would I be getting paid one rate for my coordinator hours and a different rate for my recording secretary hours and all that?
You would.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that sounds good. It sounds like we still need to look for someone, but you'll be okay doing it in the meantime. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, you should file with those hours for that position, if the rest of the board agrees.
And if it's something Glenn's willing to do.
I'm wondering if it's something I can do like on a week by week basis, like if a decision just needs to get made. Like, would it be okay if sometimes I just fold it into my existing hours and other weeks I add the hours and charge for the?
It was originally a salaried position. I don't know if that makes it
Right.
more, if that's more helpful in terms of how you could, and I know we told Anna she could do it either way, the hourly or the salary. I keep thinking that somebody new might prefer the salary because it's I imagine it's more and higher. I mean, if you're efficient, you're probably getting more money per hour and you don't have to track your hours. So it's easier in that sense.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think I advocated for the hourly because it's easier to kind of like advertise or promote, like it's this, you know.
Right. Yeah.
It's amazingly complicated, and obviously we're not the only ones struggling with the search for a select board recording secretary. I mean, it's rough going out there, and the FERCog has put out some feelers about trying to explore some kind of solution, but their admin rate is just makes it prohibitive. You know, people essentially don't want to pay beyond a certain amount, you know, for this, and so it makes it challenging. Obviously, if you put a huge hourly rate on, you'd have more applicants, you know. So tricky.
The other thing too that I still feel like I need clarification on is Joy's title. Is she the select board clerk? Is she?
I think that is her official title.
So I'm actually wondering if she already has that responsibility of keeping track of and organizing the minutes. And I know you, Glenn, said that she does that. So do we already have this person in place?
Well, oftentimes, like, I mean, I think that what boards sometimes do is they have a elected person from within, you know, an officer who's like the secretary, and their job is just to kind of see to it that it's being done. Like they may delegate the keeping track of the documents and whatnot to the recording secretary or to a select board clerk, but they are keeping an eye on it, you know. And maybe they take notes when a recording secretary isn't available or isn't not appropriate for certain executive sessions. So I think that you could consider having an elected secretary or clerk, whatever you want to call it, from amongst the three of you, And then there's also staff who are, delegated to handle the more logistical aspects of everything.
But that doesn't quite answer whether she has that title already.
Oh, I think she has the title, but what her title means is essentially I guess maybe that's a good question. Maybe we should look at what the job description is. Existing job description, if there is one for the select board clerk.
Don't know.
Yes. So maybe we can revisit this discussion about the
Yep.
select board clerk.
A lot of
And-
overlapping issues.
I wonder if it's in the personnel policy booklet.
Yeah, so I'm happy with this discussion as far as it went, and I think people now can look at the document more fully and email me with any suggestions on little things that they find they want to make changes in, and we can talk about it further.
Great, sounds good.
Maybe at some point we'll have a special meeting just to deal with it, but maybe not.
All right, I'm in agreement.
Me too. Thank you, Dan, for working on that.
Yes, thank you very much,
My
Dan.
pleasure. It's been a very interesting research project.
Okay, so did we cover everything with regards to the next item, which was basically select board clerk and meeting minutes recorder?
Yeah.
Did we cover everything we needed to for that?
Yep.
All right,
I should make sure to put that in the newsletter too.
right.
Any of those open positions.
Those I've sent out to the list several times, but do you want me to send you it again? And should we do the salaried or the hourly?
I mean, if you're offering both, maybe you include that, the select
Yeah.
board is.
Either or.
Okay.
I just have to say, my mom just sent me a message saying there's a moose in the field.
Oh,
I
boy,
wanna see a
exciting.
moose.
I wish I could.
Go run and see it.
That's my goal, is to see a
We'll
moose.
let you. We
You're
saw one in
excited.
Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
It was a young male with antlers, and it had velvet. You could see it, and it was scratching its antlers, and it was in the water, and then it started swimming. It swam across the lake. It was really
Oh,
quite
God.
awesome.
Mhm. This is the second time within a week that it's been out there. It's a young bull moose.
Wow, beautiful.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know we have at least one topic not recently anticipated, which was what Carolyn needed us to do.
Yep, and I've got that up.
All right,
Essentially, we're trying to cancel the town credit card that's in Nancy's name. And in order to do that, you all need to vote to make Carolyn a signer of the Town of Wendell business card carried through People's United. So we need a motion to appoint Carolyn as a signer on the Town of Wendell business card carried through People's United.
I so move.
I second.
any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Yes. And maybe we can, so another topic that Glenn and I touched on is the appointment slips, which it sounds like Anna and Joy are still working on, and they are hoping that they'll be ready when Glenn comes back from vacation. Does that sound right, Glenn?
Yeah, and one other detail is there may be some where they ask you to make a change in terms of like the length of the term. I think they're going to have some proposals potentially for, making some 2-year terms or what have you. So there may be something I need to bring back to you for some of them, and many of them will likely be ready very quickly upon my return for you just to come in and sign, but some of them might require me some motions and whatnot.
Okay.
But that won't happen at next meeting because you won't be here and that won't be done.
Yep, that's
And
right.
Gillian won't be here to sign anything until, when are you coming back, Gillian?
The 9th.
Okay. Which might not matter except for the ones where one of us can't sign.
Well, so if we're not voting on the changes at the July 6th meeting, it'll be the following meeting. July
But there
20th.
might be things we don't have to vote on, right? That we could sign as soon as things are ready, as soon as Glenn's back and he can print them all out.
Yep.
When are you coming back again?
I'm gonna start returning emails a week from tomorrow. And so I'll be working remotely Thursday and Friday. And then I'll be back in for my regular schedule starting July 11th, Monday.
Well, have a good vacation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Anything else not reasonably anticipated?
I had something, but I forgot it.
Oh, and actually, yeah, next week's agenda was the next thing we were going to talk about too.
Right.
It's just going to be Dan and I. What should we talk about, Dan?
Okay, I'll think of something, believe me.
Well, I mean, if you want me to join, if you end up, if something comes up and you need me to join, I can join remotely.
It seems like a pretty light week coming up, so I
It
think.
It might be our last remote meeting. That is something we should be aware of.
Oh,
Right,
that's right.
right.
So our 20th meeting might be in person. So that might be something that should be on the July 6th agenda, is returning to in-person meetings.
Good
Okay.
idea.
Yeah.
I think the hope was for you to determine the agenda tonight because it does need to be posted by Friday
Yes.
because of the Monday holiday.
So let's try to do that, and then there can always be the topics not reasonably anticipated.
Yes, that'll be
Yep.
one item for sure.
I'm hearing chatter about Old Home Day being August 13th. I don't know if they've submitted anything yet, or have you seen anything come across your desk, Glenn?
Nope.
Okay.
From what I saw, it seemed like it was still up in the air a bit, but I don't know.
The last communication I saw was that they had chosen August 13th.
Okay.
Yeah, unless they come up with a request, I don't know what we don't know if there's anything to discuss.
Do you want me to just email them and say, just remember to get if they can get a request to us sooner than later?
Sure. I'm not sure there's much from this week that we need to revisit. Unless we want to talk more about the rules of procedure.
I think that's good for now.
Well, I don't know if you want to do it at the next meeting or wait till the following one. The other question too is whether the 6th meeting has to happen, or if you feel like it does feel like a long time to wait till the 20th.
I'm happy with meeting on the 6th.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Now I just forgot what I was going to say. Citizen of the Year.
We won't have the nominations by the 6th,
Okay.
but they are starting to roll in.
Oh, great.
Good.
Yeah, a lot of enthusiasm for that.
Probably a lot of good candidates.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
Oh, yeah,
So,
I did want to ask Josh to make sure that this change of policy for the select board, which we have adopted tonight, offers the opportunity for citizens to speak to the select board at the very beginning of the meeting. So we now have a public comment section at the very beginning of the meeting that's going to last 15 minutes and 3 minutes per each individual comment for the public, if anybody wants to show up with any thoughts.
That will be by Zoom next week, but not, maybe not after, in person after that, probably.
Right.
Right.
The state extends Zoom permission.
Yeah,
they're-
it's not looking like that's happening, right?
well, not in time for the 15th. It looks like it is being worked on. But what happened, I think what happened last time was there was a very brief period where we had to come back to in person, and then they extended again and you could go back to having meetings in Zoom. So it looks like there's going to be at least a gap. But my sense is that there's a lot of interest in it and that they will extend it. And then the choice will be for the select board whether you want to continue to meet on Zoom or want to meet in person.
Yeah, so that's something for everybody to think about.
Yeah. And I also feel like we're hearing from others who would like to meet with us in person. So
Okay.
that's part of my thought process about it all too.
Yeah, well, we heard from Martha tonight that she doesn't like these. It's a real problem for her.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's some other people too who have brought it up.
Yep.
And in terms of hybrid meetings, which hopefully we'll have the capacity to do in the near future, is that, I'm not sure if the rules around that from the state.
That is allowable. Or will,
Okay.
it sounds like it will continue to, from my understanding is it sounds like it will continue to be allowable, but the meeting has to officially be taking place in person. And then
Okay,
people could join remote.
so you have to have a quorum, like if your third select board member is remote, can they still vote and discuss?
Yes, they can call in and
Okay.
I think officially when that happens, all the votes are supposed to be taken by roll call, but
Okay,
it's always pretty obvious with this group who's voting for what.
okay. All right, that's good to know.
So on the agenda, we'll have the standard items like, adjournments and open comment and public comment. But then I just have returning to in-person meetings and Old Home Day, and then there will be items not reasonably anticipated.
And
And then you'll
minutes,
have
if
the
you,
agenda if you want to add things, in the next few days. Probably be good to have one person designated who's gonna kind of corral agenda items over the next 2 days and post it.
Well, I'll be happy to post it.
Okay.
yeah, I don't, that's fine, that's good. And I was actually, I guess I can look back at an old email, but the whole list of things we want to revisit, I haven't seen
Oh.
that in a while. It'd be great to see
Yeah.
that, because this is a meeting where if it's that light and Dan and I can take care,
Yeah.
maybe there's a few things that have been hanging around that we could address. So I can look back to that and send it to people.
No, I'll send that before I.
Okay, awesome, thank
get on
you.
email. Yeah.
Yeah, and minutes, I couldn't remember if you said, if you can get the minutes done, which I don't think is critical. You can put that on as minutes approval.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it would be good. I might get you like very rough minutes because I want Carolyn to be able to use it for that credit card.
right, okay.
And then I can work on, maybe I'll push myself, be less of a perfectionist and just get something out to you fast tonight. So we'll see how
Okay.
that goes.
Great.
And I think, Glenn, you may as well put select board rules of procedure on the agenda for July 6th.
Okay.
And we can just see if Lori has any more thoughts or just talk about it a little.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
So then Lori, will you corral the agenda items and then get Dan the agenda to post?
Sure,
Okay,
I will do that.
if any come in the next couple of days.
Just so you know, I'm headed to Vermont for the next few days just to help my daughter out. I'll be back for Sunday, Monday, before I'm gone again. But available by phone and email.
Great.
All right, good. Anything else people want to discuss?
I'm good.
All right, shall we move to adjourn?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just thought of the one thing. Did any one of us say, did one of you say you would get in touch with Chief Minkler to see if he can be available for that meeting?
Yeah, I did. He actually won't be available for the meeting because he's on vacation. His big vacation is right then. But he will send, I think, his sergeant who spoke at the last meeting.
Okay. So we can go ahead and we can say, do you have his name? I don't know if we need it.
I'm trying
Or
to think.
we can
Anybody remember his name? I think it was John. I don't have it right in front of me, but
we can say a representative of the Leverett Wendell Police
yeah,
Department.
Yeah.
Okay.
and I'll make sure that he's available and how to link up with him. But that's an on-demand situation, right? Where we may not want him or we may, and we'll let him know during the meeting.
Right. I'd say to be available from like half an hour in. So it's basically to be available for half an hour from, what did we say, 7:30 to
The 8.
8.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And how, I can't remember if Dan or somebody else was actually gonna put it on the listserv once we got that information.
I think I was going to. Gillian shared what she had before.
Okay, so you're still able to do that?
I think I can do that also before I take out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome, thank you.
And maybe you
That forum is when?
July 14th, is it?
Yeah.
7 p.m.
Ooh,
Yeah, July 14th.
And I might as well say, I'm actually gonna be traveling at the end of the month, so for the 20th meeting, I won't be in town, but I can imagine I should call, oh, shoot, that's gonna be an in-person meeting.
You can still call in.
I'll call in. So that's what'll have to happen on the 20th.
Might be testing our fancy new equipment. See.
Are we gonna even have it?
Yeah, I think the computers and equipment supposed to come in mid-July, so potentially.
Well, if worse comes to worse, couldn't you just phone in and we use the speakerphone in the
Yeah.
office?
Yeah.
Low tech, yeah.
Yeah.
totally.
Okay.
Right. Anything else? All right, well, I will move to adjourn again.
At
Anyone?
8:39. A second.
8:39. Okay, all in favor?
Aye,
Aye. All right,
everybody.
thanks, everyone. Have a great vacation, Glenn
Thank you very much.
and
Here,
Gillian.
Gillian. Have a great trip.
Mhm. Thanks.
Bye.